Well, hello there, my beautiful anxious beings. My name is Michael, and for more than 15 years, I struggled with anxiety and depression that wreaked complete havoc in my life. In my efforts to find a way out of the dark hole that I found myself in, I was placed on a path of immersive study in the fields of biology, psychology, human learning, emotions, behavior, and personal development. My purpose here is to share some of the knowledge that I've gained along the way with the hope that it can help you in your own journey through life. Today, we will discuss anxiety and how with a bit of visualization and a slight shift in mindset, you can rise above anxiety by viewing it as a challenge to overcome and not a problem that needs to be solved. Within 15 minutes, my aim is to lead you towards a new way to understand anxiety and remind you that you are a powerful creative being that can overcome any challenge in life. You can do this by learning to turn any obstacles you encounter into stepping stones leading to higher and better versions of yourself. We live in and are surrounded by a universe of energy filled with things we can see and taste and touch and hear, and as well created with thoughts and feelings and waves of energy that lie beyond our sensitivity of perception. In this episode, I'd like to dive deeper into the concept of the energetic constructs of our inner universe. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into these dark and mysteriously beautiful waters together. Okay, this is my little crash course about energy and emotions, and it's called Everything is Energy. So, everything in the universe is made of energy and constantly changing. Everything you see around you, everything you experience through your senses in life is made out of energy. And this includes all human thought, feeling, and sensation. So all of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and pretty much your entire experience in life is a process of energy moving through your experience. Now, energy travels as a wave that oscillates between two extreme poles. And the wave function is a mathematical tool derived from calculus that's used to describe energy and motion. It's a really useful tool that we can use to not only explore the concept of energy, but also thoughts, emotions, sensations. Now, the wave function, here's an example. And all I really want you to notice is that there's the two extreme poles of the plus and the minus that the oscillation happens between. On the plus side, represented by the dove with the olive branch ascending, it's the light side. And on the negative side with the raven descending, it's the dark side. And also, if you look at the graph, if you look at the movement, the oscillation in the form of the squiggle of the blue and the red, you can basically, if you take the blue as thought and red as feeling, you see that the feeling closely mirrors or follows the thought pattern over time. Now, I've often presented this image in my videos as a simplified version, just to kind of like simplify the idea of the fact of emotions and feelings being a wave. And, I put the little stick figure at the bottom of a valley representing the negative side, the dark side, and the valley of depression, and on the contrary, the plus side, the summit of joy. So this is basically just a simplification of the wave function, just to get people thinking in the right direction. Now, when you look at positive energies in the body and in the mind and in the heart and in the spirit, if you look here now, that the axis, the zero, everything, all of this energy, all of this waveform is on the plus side above zero. And when you have this situation, both the thoughts, which are blue, and the emotions, which are red, they're in positive territory. And when they combine together, the black is kind of like the sum total of the thoughts and the emotions. And as the positive thought and emotion builds together, there's an increasing will to action. And at the top of this black curve, that might be the point of action where with a positive feeling and positive thought, you decide to take action in a positive direction. And that's the inflection point, is actually where the action would be taken. So this is an example of a waveform describing a positive positivity on the positive side. On the contrary, here we have a negative function, and if you see now the scale has shifted so that most of the waveform is in negative territory, in the dark territory. And so when you have this happen, these are negative thoughts and negative emotions, and what they create instead of action, they increase resistance. So that's inertia, kind of like doing nothing, the result of leading towards doing nothing. And so the important thing to take away from this is that negative thoughts and negative emotions tend to be destructive, where they create resistance and don't allow us to grow and advance in life. Now, specifically with anxiety, and this is why it's really useful, the waveform, to examine the wave function, because it gives you a really good visual representation of what's happening when you're experiencing anxiety. Now, if you look at this, most of this waveform is in the positive territory. There's the odd dip down into the negative, but it's largely positive. But the one thing to notice is that the really erratic nature, the up and down, the jaggedness of the peaks, that represents the agitated state, agitated form of energy, where there's a lot of up and down, a lot of like contradictory thoughts and emotions. And you can see that there's no clear pattern of the emotions following thought. It's a bit of a mix, a bit of a jumble. And so this agitated state, the spikes, the constant spikes and variability and erratic nature of the waveform, and as well the fact that it's relatively compressed, there's a lot of cycling within a short period of time. These are the two hallmarks of anxiety, and this is really a visual representation of that agitated feeling that you experience through anxiety. On the flip side of this, if we were to look at a regulated waveform, meaning that the nervous system is regulated, you can see right away that the curves are a lot smoother. There's no noise, and also as well is that the wavelength is actually longer, so that there's fewer cycles in the same amount of time. And so these two things, this is really what you want to do as if you want to move out of anxiety towards a more regulated and even and in a more even state. You want to basically aim for this sort of waveform. And again, I superimpose the two here, just you can see the difference quite clearly. You can see how noisy and erratic the anxiety waveform is in the background. And in the front, you can see how much longer the wave period is. In the same time frame where there's 4 peaks in the anxious state, there's only 2 in the regulated. And so there's more space between the peaks, which means there's more time. There's more time between the thought and the emotion. And so it actually gives you an opportunity. If you move towards the regulated state, it gives you the opportunity to increase awareness and also creates choice. Now, when we get into depression, again, one thing to really notice here is that with depression, the energy is already kind of relatively low, meaning that the wavelength is relatively long and even. But the one important thing about depression is that you can see that the entire waveform has been pushed down into the negative territory with the peaks just barely breaking the surface of 0 or neutrality. And so this is the hallmark of depression, where even at the peak, when you're at the high point, you actually don't feel that good because you're barely breaking even in terms of you're barely breaking into positive territory. Most of your feeling is negative. There's a lot of inertia, and that's what makes it really difficult to shift, is because you're constantly in the low, in the negative part, with a very low energy. So with depression, what the idea is that you want to push that whole waveform up into positive territory. And so you can see here where with a more regulated nervous system moving away from depression, you can see that all of the waveform is in much higher, it's in a higher state, it's in positive territory, with still the odd dip down into the negative territory, because we're still going to have those experiences in life that are kind of negative, that brings us down. But overall, the whole curve has been shifted up into positive territory, and that's the objective when you're in a depressive state, is to get that energy up and moving into positive territory. So with this quick little crash course, I just wanted to really hammer in the idea that everything is energy, including thoughts and emotions. And it's really important to grasp this concept because at the end of the day, the key to understanding and moving beyond states of anxiety and depression is the development of awareness of all your combined energies in the present moment. So like I said, with anxiety, if you're stretching the curve out and creating space, that gives you time between the thoughts and the emotions, and that's where you create the awareness and the ability to choose and to acknowledge and to choose what state you want to be in. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation, and now we'll get back to our other discussions. By rising above old patterns and negative conditioning, and by examining all of the different possibilities that exist in the present moment, you can actively choose to respond in the most positive and best way possible. By maintaining awareness and presence, you can effectively change any perceived obstacle into a helpful stepping stone that will carry you forward and on your way. Any problem in life can be solved by restating the question in a new and more positive light, thereby reframing the illusion of the obstacle into the reality of a practical and liberating stepping stone. By changing the line of questioning from, "Why is this happening to me?" or "What have I done to deserve this?" to "What can I learn from this experience?" or "What area of my life does this event reveal I need to work on?" You can effectively form your own narrow bridge of understanding between the perceived problem and its solution. In much the same way that Al-Resha forms the narrow bridge between the two opposite and equal fish in the constellation Pisces, by shifting your questions and reframing your past, you can bridge the seemingly insurmountable gaps and dark places within your being with the light of increased consciousness. By turning your obstacles into stepping stones, you effectively change your mind and raise the quality of your experience of life as you continue along your journey from the valley to the summit.